Imagine being punished for the smallest act of defiance, not saluting properly or arriving late to work. How would you cope in such a world? During the tumultuous times of World War II, the Gestapo established what were known as Arbeitserziehungslager, more commonly abbreviated to AELs. These labor education camps were sinister instruments wielded with a clear purpose: to discipline and suppress any hint of resistance among workers. Initially, these camps ensnared German workers suspected of minor acts of rebellion. As the war dragged on, their nets widened to capture mainly foreign and Eastern European civilian workers. The AELs were not ordinary prisons. Admission could be for reasons as trivial as failing to perform the German greeting correctly. Ostensibly, these detentions were educational measures rather than punitive. The planned period of detention could range from 21 to 56 days. Yet, as we will see, the reality within these camps was far harsher and more brutal than any education might imply. As we peel back the layers of history, the grim reality of AELs begins to surface. Let's delve deeper. What started as a disciplinary measure soon morphed into a system of severe repression. Initially, the labor education camps, or AELs, were established under the guise of disciplining and re-educating the German workforce. Workers suspected of minor infractions, such as failing to perform the German greeting, could be sent to these camps for periods ranging from 21 to 56 days. It was a system set up to instill fear, yet masqueraded as an educational initiative. However, as the winds of war grew fiercer, the role and reach of the AELs dramatically transformed. The camps began to imprison not just German workers, but increasingly foreign and Eastern European civilians. This shift marked a dark escalation in the camp's purpose, from a tool for maintaining labor discipline to instruments of terror and control. The criteria for imprisonment were intentionally vague, creating an atmosphere where almost anyone could be detained for the most trivial reasons. This ambiguity served a chilling purpose: to maintain a constant state of uncertainty and fear among the workers. It was a tactic aimed not just at controlling the physical actions of individuals, but breaking their spirit and resistance. As the war progressed, the nature of these camps grew ever more brutal. What were once short-term detentions evolved into indefinite periods of confinement. The educational veneer of the AELs crumbled, revealing their true nature as precursors to even more horrific forms of confinement, such as concentration camps. The conditions within the AELs were harsh, characterized by cruel punishments and forced labor, all under the watchful eye of the Gestapo. The mortality rates climbed and the hope for many dimmed. This transformation reflected a broader, more sinister strategy by the regime to suppress any form of dissent or resistance through overwhelming fear and brutality. The AELs were no longer just about correcting behaviors or instilling work ethics. They were about controlling populations and exterminating opposition. The lines between education and punishment blurred, as did the lines between right and wrong in the eyes of the oppressors. Day by day, under constant surveillance and threat, how did the detainees of AELs live and survive? The daily life in the AELs, or labor education camps, was marked by an oppressive routine under the watchful eye of the Gestapo. Every morning, detainees were roused before dawn, their sleep disrupted by the harsh clang of metal against metal, a sound that signified another long day of forced labor was about to begin. In these camps, work was not just a duty, it was a relentless demand. Detainees faced back-breaking tasks from construction to moving heavy loads, often without proper tools or protective gear. The labor was designed not just to contribute to the war effort, but to break the spirit and bodies of those deemed unruly or resistant to the Nazi regime. Minor infractions, such as failing to meet work quotas or not performing the mandatory German greeting, were met with cruel punishments. Punishments ranged from solitary confinement in tiny dark cells to physical beatings. These were not just methods of discipline, but acts of terror, intended to instill a perpetual state of fear among the prisoners. The psychological toll on the detainees was immense. Living in constant fear of punishment, many suffered from severe anxiety and depression. The lack of privacy, dignity, and autonomy turned daily existence into a survival challenge where the only goal was to make it through another day. Despite these harsh conditions, moments of humanity and resilience emerged. Detainees would often share their meager rations, offer words of comfort, or teach each other survival tricks. These small acts of kindness became rays of hope in the overwhelming darkness of the camps. The camps operated on a cruel paradox. They were called education camps, yet they taught nothing but despair and fear. Detainees were not students but victims, caught in a system designed to dehumanize and control. In the midst of hardship, the human spirit was tested to its limits. Control and terror were the tools of the trade for the Gestapo in the operation of AELs. As the secret police of Nazi Germany, the Gestapo was notorious for its brutal methods and ruthless enforcement of the regime's policies. In the context of the AELs, or labor education camps, their role was particularly sinister. The Gestapo was instrumental in identifying, arresting, and sending individuals to these camps. Ostensibly created to re-educate and discipline workers, the camps were in reality tools for crushing any form of dissent or resistance among the workforce. Under the guise of education, the Gestapo implemented a regime of fear and punishment. Once individuals were ensnared in the web of the AELs, the Gestapo's influence only grew. They oversaw the operation of the camps, ensuring that the so-called educational measures were nothing short of torturous. The conditions were harsh, designed not just to punish, but to break the spirit of the inmates. Reports from the time described frequent and severe beatings, inadequate food, and forced labor that pushed prisoners to the brink of exhaustion and beyond. The Gestapo's methods were effective in instilling terror, not just in the camps, but across the workforce. The mere threat of being sent to an AEL was often enough to quell minor acts of defiance or dissatisfaction. This climate of fear was crucial in maintaining control during the tumultuous war years. With each passing day, the Gestapo's grip tightened, and the fate of many was sealed. As the war progressed, the purpose of AELs darkened even further. Initially conceived as punitive yet educational facilities, AELs gradually became gateways to even more horrific fates. As World War II intensified, the Nazi regime began transferring many prisoners from these labor education camps directly to concentration camps. This shift marked a severe escalation in the regime's approach to discipline and control. Transfers from AELs to concentration camps were not merely relocations. They were a descent into even grimmer conditions. For many prisoners, this move meant a significant decrease in their chances of survival. Once in concentration camps, the harsh realities of overcrowded living conditions, minimal food supplies, forced labor, and rampant disease awaited them. The brutality they faced intensified, and the shadow of death loomed larger than ever. This transition also reflected the Nazi regime's evolving strategy of terror and repression. The use of concentration camps expanded the scope of their control and cruelty, turning the system into one of the most infamous aspects of their governance. The transfer from AELs to concentration camps was not just a physical relocation. It was an integral part of the systematic increase in the inhumanity of the regime's practices. From labor camps to concentration camps, the journey was tragically short. Now that we know about the AELs, what should we take away from this dark chapter in history? The AELs, or labor education camps, were a grim invention of World War II, designed under the watchful eye of the Gestapo to curb resistance and enforce conformity among workers. Initially targeting German workers for trivial offenses, like failing to perform the German greeting, these camps quickly expanded to include foreign and Eastern European civilians. By the end of the war, around 200 such facilities imprisoned nearly 500,000 people. The term education in their name was a cruel irony. Instead of learning, inmates faced brutal conditions where the slightest mistake could mean severe punishment or death. The camps operated under a facade of reformation, with detentions planned from 21 to 56 days. However, as the war dragged on, many detainees found themselves transferred to concentration camps where survival became even more uncertain. Behind the barbed wires and under the stern gaze of the Gestapo, The AELs served not just as tools of labor, but as potent instruments of terror. They aimed to break spirits and erase dissent, using fear to keep the machinery of war moving. Reflecting on the legacy of the AELs reminds us of the importance of vigilance in preserving human rights. These chapters of history, dark as they are, teach us the dangers of unchecked power and the ease with which civil liberties can be undermined in the name of discipline or national security. In remembering the past, we guard the future. The story of AELs is a somber reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink and the heights to which we must aspire. What if walls could talk? What stories would the stones of Osnabrück Castle reveal? Nestled in the heart of Germany, Osnabrück is a city steeped in layers of history, each epic whispering its own tales. Yet some of these stories are shrouded in the dark veils of the National Socialist era, a period that left indelible marks on the fabric of this historic city. The Gestapo Keller, once the feared headquarters of the Gestapo, and the Augustaschacht, a grim labor camp, stand today as memorials. These sites are powerful echoes of the past, serving as stark reminders of the atrocities committed under Nazi rule. The Gestapo Keller, hidden within the formidable walls of Osnabrück Castle, witnessed unspeakable acts of police violence and torture. Just a short distance away, the Augustaschacht Memorial marks the location where over 2,000 men, mostly foreign forced laborers, endured brutal conditions from 1944 to 1945. These memorials compel us to remember and reflect on a chapter of history that is painful, yet pivotal. Join us as we delve into the shadows of history at these memorials. Within the walls of Osnabrück Castle lies the Gestapo Keller, a site of silent screams and resilience. Tucked away in the depths of this historic castle, the Gestapo Keller Memorial occupies what were once the Gestapo cells. These dimly lit, cramped spaces tell stories of fear and fortitude where the Gestapo, a notorious instrument of Nazi oppression, conducted ruthless interrogations and inflicted severe torture upon countless individuals suspected of opposing the regime. Walking through the Gestapo Keller, one is enveloped by the echoes of the past. The air feels heavy with the weight of history, each room curated to bring to light the grim realities of police violence and forced labor that occurred within these walls. The exhibits are poignant, showcasing a range of personal artifacts that once belonged to the detainees, worn-out shoes, faded letters, and photographs that capture moments of despair and fleeting hope. These artifacts are not mere relics. They are the remnants of lives interrupted by brutality. As visitors move from one display to the next, they encounter stories of individuals from all walks of life who found themselves ensnared in the terrifying machinery of the Gestapo. Each story is a thread in the larger fabric of human resilience, highlighting how, even in the depths of despair, the human spirit fought to survive. The Gestapo Keller also sheds light on the broader context of forced labor under the Nazi regime. Panels and interactive displays provide insights into how the Gestapo used fear and violence as tools to coerce labor out of prisoners, many of whom were brought from occupied territories across Europe. These laborers worked in inhumane conditions, their freedom stripped away, their identities reduced to numbers. As one leaves the Gestapo Keller, the impact of what has been witnessed lingers. The chilling atmosphere of the Gestapo Keller serves as a testament to the brutalities of police-state tactics under Nazi rule. A short drive from the city center brings us to a place of profound sorrow and remembrance, the Augustaschacht Memorial. Nestled in what was once the serene outskirts of Osnabrück, this site harbors a chilling past. During the waning years of World War II, from 1944 to 1945, this area was home to the Orbeck labor camp. Over 2,000 men, primarily foreign forced laborers, were imprisoned under brutal conditions here. These men, torn from their homelands and subjected to unimaginable hardships, were part of a dark chapter in human history. The Augustaschacht Memorial, set on these haunted grounds, serves as a poignant window into their lives. The term Gestapo concentration camp conjures images of fear and oppression, a reality that was all too true for those detained here. The Gestapo, notorious agents of terror, oversaw the camp. Their presence turned what might have been a standard labor camp into a site of severe human rights abuses. Interrogations, torture, and unyielding surveillance were part of daily life, methods employed to break spirits and enforce absolute obedience. But why remember such grim realities? The memorial stands not just as a testament to the cruelty inflicted here, but also as a symbol of resilience. Each story of survival, each name remembered, adds a layer to our understanding of the human capacity to endure and eventually overcome. The significance of this site extends beyond the historical records of atrocities. It challenges us to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature and governance. It compels us to reflect on the consequences of unchecked power and the importance of maintaining vigilance in preserving human rights. The Gestapo Memorial stands as a stark reminder of human cruelty and the resilience of the human spirit. Behind every exhibit, every photograph, and every artifact, there's a human story waiting to be told. In the shadowed corners of history, where the echoes of past atrocities linger, the personal stories of survivors from the Gestapo Keller and Augustusjagd memorials serve as powerful testaments to human resilience and memory. These narratives, steeped in pain yet triumphant in spirit, are meticulously preserved to educate and remind us of the depths of human cruelty and the heights of perseverance. At the Gestapo Keller Memorial, visitors are confronted with the chilling accounts of those who endured unspeakable torture within the damp walls of the Gestapo cells. Each story, whether it's etched into the walls or captured in a fading photograph, offers a window into the lives of those who fought to survive each day under the watchful eyes of their captors. Moving to the Augustusjagd Memorial, the focus shifts to the tales of over 2,000 men, primarily foreign forced laborers, who braved the brutal conditions of the camp. The narratives here do not just recount the physical hardships, but also the mental and emotional resilience required to endure such an ordeal. These stories are not merely recounted, they are felt by every visitor, leaving indelible marks on their hearts and minds. To ensure these stories endure, the memorials host various educational programs and memorial events. These initiatives engage both the local community and visitors from afar, bridging generations and geographies. Through interactive sessions, guided tours, and annual commemorations, the memorials provide a platform for the voices of the past to resonate in the present. Moreover, the impact of these stories reaches beyond the immediate emotional response they elicit. For descendants of the survivors, these narratives are a connection to their own heritage, a link to the trials and triumphs of their ancestors. They serve as a poignant reminder of the resilience embedded in their lineage, inspiring pride and a sense of responsibility to uphold the values of human dignity and respect. It is through these stories that the true horror of these sites is understood and remembered. Why do we visit places that remind us of such pain and suffering? In grappling with this question, we must acknowledge the profound role of historical memory in our lives. It is not merely about recounting tales of yore, it's about ensuring that the horrors of the past are not repeated. Memorials like Gestapo Keller and Augustusjagd are not just stone and metal, they are poignant reminders of the resilience and the suffering of the human spirit. These sites educate the public, serving as stark reminders of the atrocities committed under the Nazi regime. They help us to remember the lives that were brutally disrupted and the freedoms that were crushed under the weight of tyranny. By preserving these memories, these memorials contribute significantly to the collective memory of society, ensuring that history's darkest chapters are not forgotten. Moreover, these memorials play a crucial role in fostering a culture of remembrance and responsibility. They prompt us to reflect on the values of human rights, justice, and the rule of law. In the shadows of these memorials, we are reminded of the thin line between civilization and barbarism, between order and chaos. They stand as guardians of history, urging us to reflect, to learn, and to teach future generations the importance of vigilance and empathy. Importantly, the lessons gleaned from these memorials are universal. They resonate beyond the borders of Germany and echo across the globe, in every place where humanity has faced or continues to face the specter of oppression and violence. They remind us that the cost of forgetting is too great, that the stakes of historical amnesia are nothing less than the repeat of past horrors. In visiting these memorials, we do more than just remember the past. We actively engage in a dialogue with history, questioning how we can contribute to a more just and humane world. It is a profound act of collective remembrance, one that transcends personal experience and unites us in our common humanity. By remembering the past, we pledge to never let such darkness descend again. As our journey through these memorials comes to an end, we carry with us the weight and the lessons of history. In the heart of Osnabrück, the Gestapo Keller and Augustaschacht memorials stand as stark reminders of a harrowing past. These sites, once scenes of unimaginable suffering, now educate us about the brutality of the National Socialist era. The Gestapo Keller, with its chilling cells, tells tales of police violence and the torment endured by those who opposed Nazi rule. Meanwhile, the Augustaschacht memorial, set in the remnants of the Orbeck labor camp, recounts the plight of over 2,000 men subjected to forced labor under dire conditions. These memorials serve not just as points of historical interest, but as vital beacons of memory and warning. They underscore the importance of remembering the atrocities committed to ensure such darkness does not find its way back into the light of our present day. Let us hold fast to the memories of those who suffered, ensuring their stories are never forgotten. How can it be in this civilized world that something so repugnant exists? These words, penned by Fida Wolf, a Dutchman who found himself ensnared in the brutal reality of Nazi Germany, echo the chilling experiences of countless souls. In 1944, Wolf was relocated to Osnabrück, where he lived in a camp designated for forced laborers. It was here, on February 15, 1945, that he wrote his harrowing poem, drawing from the terrifying accounts of former prisoners at the AEL Orbeck. The AEL Orbeck, or Arbeitszuchtlager, was not just a labor camp, but a place where the Osnabrück secret state police, the Gestapo, aimed to crush the spirits of those who dared to defy forced labor mandates. Tens of thousands of laborers from across Europe were brought to the region of Osnabrück, each person a thread in the vast tapestry of forced labor that the Nazis relied upon during World War II. This is the forgotten tale of Fida Wolf and the labor camp that tried to erase human dignity. Imagine waking up to the sound of harsh commands, every hesitant step met with violence. This was the chilling daily reality for the inmates of the AEL Orbeck, a labor education camp run with ruthless efficiency by the Osnabrück secret state police, the Gestapo. In the heart of Germany, under the shadow of the swastika, the camp at Orbeck was not just a facility, it was a brutal regime designed to crush spirits and enforce compliance through fear and exhaustion. Days began before dawn, as the cold air was split by the sharp cries of orders. Those who paused, even briefly, felt the swift punishment of a cudgel. The prisoners, hailing from all corners of Europe, were subjected to back-breaking labor that stretched from the early morning mist until after the sun had set. The work was grueling, and the conditions under which they toiled were designed to dehumanize. They slogged through mud and grime with no respite. Food was a rare commodity in Orbeck. A crust of bread and a thin broth that could hardly qualify as soup constituted the day's meal. Fida Wolf, a Dutchman and a former inmate, chronicled these hardships in stark verses. He wrote of the tiny portions of bread and the even lesser amounts of watery soup that were doled out to the workers, their bodies wasting away to mere shadows of their former selves. The Gestapo officers overseeing the camp maintained order with an iron fist. Any sign of dissent was met with swift and brutal punishment. Sickness was no excuse for leniency. Ill or not, the expectation was to work, to contribute to the Reich until one was no more than a ghost, a corpse walking. In Fida Wolf's words, the camp was a place where joy was soured by grief and terror. His poignant reflections remind us of the deep scars left by such places of suffering, scars that mark not only those who endured, but also the landscape of human history itself. Many who entered AEL Orbeck left as shadows, ghosts, or not at all. In the heart of the war, amidst the chaos and the clamor for power, the labor education camp at Orbeck became a silent witness to unspeakable horrors. Here, the voices of those silenced by oppression and cruelty echo through time, telling stories not just of survival, but of lives brutally cut short. One such voice was that of a young Polish man, barely 20 when he was captured and sent to Orbeck. His letters, smuggled out in the seams of workers' clothing, reveal a spirit fighting against the crushing weight of despair. He wrote of endless days filled with backbreaking labor, of cold nights haunted by the cries of fellow prisoners. Despite the inhuman conditions, his words carried a flicker of defiance, a whisper of hope that one day he might see freedom. Yet for many, that day never came. There are tales, too, of a French teacher, a woman of strong will and gentle heart, who tried to keep the spirits of her fellow inmates alive with secret lessons, taught in hushed tones under the cover of darkness. Her strength was her downfall. Too weak to work, she received no mercy from her captors. Her story ended in Orbeck, her potential unfulfilled, her voice silenced before its time. The psychological scars ran deep. Survivors speak of nights filled with nightmares, of days when the shadow of the camp loomed larger than life. The physical toll was evident in their emaciated figures, in the haunted looks in their eyes. The camp systematically stripped them of their health, their dignity, their identities. Even those who emerged alive from Orbeck were forever changed. The camp claimed not just bodies but souls, leaving behind a legacy of pain and loss that would echo through generations. These are the voices of those who suffered, their stories a stark reminder of humanity's darkest hours. The scars left by AEL Orbeck are not just on the land, but in the hearts of many. The shadows cast by this labor education camp stretch long and deep, touching generations far beyond those who were imprisoned within its walls. Survivors of Orbeck carried more than just physical scars. The psychological torment, the haunting memories of degradation and the constant struggle for survival left indelible marks on their psyche. These experiences shaped their lives, influencing how they interacted with the world and their loved ones. The trauma did not vanish with the camp's liberation. It embedded itself within families, passed down like a dark and heavy baton in a relay race no one wished to run. Children and grandchildren of survivors often speak of a palpable grief, a sorrow that permeates their family gatherings, silent yet overwhelmingly present. This inherited trauma manifests in various aspects of life, from the way they form relationships to how they perceive safety and authority. The pain did not end with liberation. It lingered, a somber legacy of survival. Despite the darkness of the past, why does so much of this history remain in the shadows? The labor education camps like AEL Orbeck, sites of immense suffering and cruelty, are scarcely a footnote in the broader narrative of World War II. This obscurity is not just a matter of historical oversight, but reflects a complex interplay of memory, guilt, and the passage of time. In the aftermath of the war, the sheer scale of atrocities committed under the Nazi regime overshadowed many individual horrors, including the brutal realities of labor education camps. Moreover, the immediate post-war period focused on reconstruction and reconciliation, often sidelining the painful examination of such specific aspects of the Nazi terror. Yet, understanding these dark chapters is crucial. Today, efforts are being made to rectify this historical amnesia. The Gestapo Keller and Augusta Schacht memorials serve as poignant reminders of the past, dedicated to educating the public about the grim conditions and the human rights violations that occurred within these camps. These memorials not only honor the victims, but also serve as a vital educational tool, fostering a deeper understanding of the consequences of unchecked power and prejudice. Through exhibitions, guided tours, and educational programs, these sites challenge visitors to confront the uncomfortable truths of our history. They highlight the importance of remembrance and the need for vigilance to prevent such atrocities from happening again. Bringing light to these dark chapters is essential for understanding and healing. Vida Wolf's haunting words bring us face to face with our past. How do we respond? As we delve into the depths of human history, we often find chapters that are difficult to comprehend, let alone accept. Vida Wolf's poignant testimony from the heart of a labor discipline camp in 1945 is a chilling reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink. It compels us to reflect not only on the past, but also on its echoes in our present and future. When we hear of the inhumane conditions, the relentless oppression, and the stripping away of dignity described by Wolf, it's natural to feel a mix of horror, sadness, and disbelief. These emotions are powerful, but they are also a testament to our humanity, a sign that we understand that such suffering should never have been endured. This history, though painful, is crucial to remember. It serves as a stark warning of what can happen when hatred and bigotry are allowed to fester unchecked. The stories of those who lived through these times, like that of Vida Wolf and countless others, are not just tales of survival. They are urgent reminders of the need for vigilance, empathy, and action in our own lives. Learning from the past requires us to acknowledge it fully, no matter how uncomfortable it makes us. It demands that we educate ourselves and others to ensure that the seeds of such atrocities find no fertile ground in today's world. It urges us to stand up against injustice, discrimination, and tyranny in all their forms, wherever they may arise. As we reflect on the lessons of history, let us also draw inspiration from the resilience of those who endured, from their strength in the face of unimaginable adversity. Their lives, their struggles, and their stories empower us to build a more compassionate, just, and humane world. In remembering, we honor the victims and guard against the return of such darkness. What will you do to remember and make a difference? You are not a number. You are a human being. You are my father. You remain my father. In the tapestry of history, where countless threads weave stories of ordinary and extraordinary lives, the narrative of Hendrik Willem Gertman stands out as a beacon of courage and defiance. Born in a time of turmoil and dramatic societal shifts, Gertman's life was a testament to the power of standing firm in one's beliefs amidst the storm of adversity. Living through an era marked by the struggle for justice and equality, Gertman's actions were not merely responses to his circumstances, but were deeply rooted in a profound commitment to resist injustice. His life was a vivid portrayal of bravery, not just in moments of visible heroism, but in his consistent, quiet resistance against the forces that sought to diminish human dignity. As we delve deeper into his story, we explore not just the events that shaped him, but the indomitable spirit that defines true courage. Today, we unfold the story of a man whose bravery transcends time. Born in a time of turmoil, Hendrik was shaped by the world around him. From his earliest days, Hendrik Willem Gertman was no stranger to adversity. He was born into a modest family in a small village, where the echoes of conflict and the whispers of resistance were a constant backdrop. His father, a local schoolteacher, instilled in him a love for learning and a deep respect for the power of knowledge. His mother, a seamstress, taught him the value of diligence and the importance of standing up for what is right. Education played a pivotal role in Hendrik's formative years. He was an avid reader, often found with his nose in books about history and philosophy. These books opened his eyes to the broader world and its complexities. They taught him about the struggles of those who fought for justice and equality, and these stories resonated deeply with him, fueling his desire to make a difference. As a young man, Hendrik witnessed firsthand the injustices inflicted upon his community. He saw how arbitrary power could crush spirits and destroy lives. These observations became the catalyst for his resolve to resist oppression. He began to understand that silence in the face of injustice only served to empower the oppressors. His interactions with mentors and peers who shared his passion for justice further shaped his worldview. These relationships reinforced his belief in the power of collective action and the importance of standing firm in one's convictions. It was these early experiences that forged the iron will of Hendrik Gertman. In the face of adversity, true courage shines brightest. Hendrik Willem Gertman was a beacon of bravery during a time when shadows loomed large over his homeland. His daring exploits are not just stories, they are lessons in valor and resistance. One of the most striking instances of Gertman's courage occurred during a dark, oppressive night. With the risk of capture always imminent, he orchestrated a daring rescue of several families who were hiding from persecution. Guiding them through clandestine routes, Geertman not only saved these families but also restored their hope in humanity. His actions, though perilous, demonstrated his profound commitment to justice and his refusal to be a bystander in the face of tyranny. Geertman's bravery was also evident in his work with the underground resistance movement. He played a pivotal role in disseminating critical information and supplies. This not only bolstered the spirits of those fighting against oppression, but also significantly hampered the efforts of their oppressors. Each clandestine meeting, each piece of smuggled information, posed a tremendous risk to his life, yet Geertman persisted, driven by a deep-seated belief in freedom and equality. Perhaps one of the most daring episodes was when Geertman infiltrated a heavily guarded facility to retrieve crucial intelligence. This information proved instrumental in thwarting a major oppressive operation, saving countless lives. The success of this mission was a direct result of his audacious spirit and strategic acumen. Throughout these tumultuous times, Geertman's actions had a ripple effect, inspiring others to join the cause and fight against injustice. His courage became a rallying cry, a symbol of what could be achieved when the heart and mind are set on the greater good. Each act of defiance, a testament to his unwavering courage. But the path of a hero is never without its perils. Hendrik Willem Geertman, a figure of unwavering courage, faced numerous challenges that tested his resolve and moral compass. One of the most harrowing obstacles was his imprisonment. Locked away from the world he was trying to change, Hendrik found himself confined within cold, unyielding walls that were meant to break his spirit. Yet it was within these very walls that his resolve was forged into something even stronger. Outside the prison, threats loomed large. Hendrik was a beacon of resistance, and this made him a target. Shadows followed him, whispers of danger echoed in his steps. Friends and allies warned him of the risks, but Hendrik knew that to step back would be to allow injustice to flourish unchecked. Moreover, Hendrik wrestled with moral dilemmas that would leave lesser souls torn. Each decision carried weight. Each action could tip the scales in ways unforeseen. Should he prioritize his family's safety over the fight for justice? Could he justify the potential sacrifices? These questions plagued him, yet his commitment to his cause remained unshakable. Through every hardship, Hendrik's resolve only grew stronger. Each challenge, each setback didn't just test Hendrik, they shaped him. They honed his purpose and clarified his vision. In the face of overwhelming adversity, Hendrik Willem Geertman stood resolute, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to overcome. What we do echoes through eternity. These profound words resonate deeply when reflecting on the life and legacy of Hendrik Willem Geertman. His courageous stance against injustice not only shaped his era but continues to inspire and influence modern movements for justice and human rights. Geertman's story is not just a historical account, it's a narrative that has been woven into the fabric of contemporary activism. His fearless actions during times of crisis set a precedent for what it means to stand firm in one's beliefs, no matter the opposition. Historians often cite Geertman as a pivotal figure whose legacy transcends the boundaries of time and geography. As one historian aptly put it, Geertman's resistance is a timeless reminder of the power of individual action in the face of systemic oppression. The ripple effects of his bravery are evident in the stories of those who were directly inspired by him. Many activists and leaders, when asked about their inspirations, recount tales of Geertman's resolve and unwavering spirit. "His story gave me the courage to fight for what's right," shares one activist. "Knowing what he endured and how he stood strong makes us believe in the possibility of change." Moreover, Geertman's impact is not confined to tales of the past. His ethos of courage and resistance has permeated various modern movements that strive for human rights and equality. His belief in justice and the dignity of each individual continues to fuel campaigns against oppression and inequality worldwide. Each march, each protest, each call to action that seeks to uphold the values Geertman fought for carries a part of his spirit. In educational spheres, Geertman's life is studied not merely as a historical event, but as a continuing lesson in resilience and moral courage. Schools and universities integrate his story into curricula that aim to instill a sense of responsibility and activism in young minds. As we look back on his life, it becomes clear that Hendrik Willem Geertman was more than just a figure of his time. He is a beacon of hope, a symbol of resistance, and an enduring influence that guides us through our own struggles for justice and equality. Hendrik Willem Geertman, a beacon of hope that continues to guide. History is not just about the past, it is a lesson for our future. In the tapestry of human history, the threads of past and present are intricately woven together, each era echoing the triumphs and tribulations of the ones before. Hendrik Willem Geertman's era was marked by stark challenges, much like the ones we face today. His story, though rooted in a different time, carries a timeless message of resilience and moral courage. Today, our global society continues to grapple with issues of injustice and oppression. From political upheavals to social inequities, the shadows of the past loom large over our contemporary struggles. Yet it is in the reflection of these shadows that we find the luminous example of individuals like Geertman, whose life reminds us that courage can indeed conquer fear, and integrity can triumph over adversity. Geertman's resistance to injustice wasn't just a reaction to the circumstances of his time. It was a proclamation of his values, a testament to his unyielding spirit. This spirit is precisely what we need in today's world, where too often despair dampens the fire of action, and cynicism clouds the clarity of vision. By remembering Geertman, we do not merely recall a story from the past, we rekindle a beacon for the present. His legacy teaches us that each individual holds the power to effect change, that each act of bravery contributes to the greater good. In times of fear and uncertainty, his life encourages us to stand firm, to hold our ground against the tides of injustice that threaten to sweep us away. Let us then carry forward the torch that Hendrik Willem Geertman once bore. Let his courage be our guide, his resilience our blueprint. As we face the challenges of our times, let us remember that we too can be architects of change, champions of justice, and bearers of hope. In remembering Hendrik, we remember the power of one person to make a difference. Let his courage inspire you to resist injustice in your own life.